Magic design philosophy is always evolving. For years, gold cards were reserved for gold sets, such as Ravnica and Alara, or mythic rares, such as Novablast Worm in Worldwake. However, in 2013, Theros broke this rule to premiere its 10-card cycle of Signpost Uncommons. They were such a hit that every set since has followed its example. So what are Signpost Uncommons? Basically, they're a cycle of 10 uncommons, one per color pair, that are designed with draft in mind. See, each given set has one draft archetype per color pair, and the Signpost Uncommons are designed to fit those archetypes. They should be strong enough that anyone playing that archetype will pick that card, but not so strong that someone outside of the archetype will draft it anyway. For example, Direfleet Warmonger is incredible in a dedicated sacrifice deck, but if you don't have the creatures to sacrifice to it, it's not worth splashing in a different color deck. It's very specifically strong. The effect this has is that if you see a gold uncommon late in a pack, it's a good bet that nobody in your pod is drafting that color pair, and you may be able to safely pivot. It's a safeguard to help people who are having trouble finding a lane. And this isn't just a metric of skill. Even the best drafters will sometimes have trouble finding a lane. It's the nature of draft. Now, draft is my favorite format, so I'm a big supporter of Signpost Uncommons. So let's put some into our Norse set. To start, we need to know what our archetypes are. Some of these are obvious based on our mechanics. White-green is Fortify, and blue-black, black-red, and blue-red are different shades of Pillage. Runes are in every color, but mostly in blue. Since green is the color of mana fixing, let's make green-blue the runes archetype. Deify is also in every color, but we can make it an archetype in red-green by focusing on ramp and late game to give you the time to power up your deities. Now, after you exhaust the mechanic themes, you tend to move on to more generic ones. Often, it's nice to have a tribal theme. We do have Vikings in black-red, but that's more focused on pillage, so let's do an Aven theme in white-blue. All Aven fly, so this can also be a flying theme. Now, we have lots of types of artifacts in our set, so let's have red-white care about that, probably with a lot of dwarves. I'm not sure what to do for black-green, but Graveyard Shenanigans is always a safe bet. And for white-black, maybe a token strategy? Now, let's design a card for each archetype. White-blue flyers have been done a lot, so let's try to make this different than the usual Flash and Lords archetype. This will be a creature with flying, but maybe whenever you play an Aven, draw a card. That's pretty strong, but we can power it up or down as needed by changing the number of Aven at common. For blue-black, we need either a vehicle or a pilot. We do have 3 vehicles at common, and I feel like that's a good amount, so let's make this a pilot that gives your vehicles pillage. Now that won't affect the vehicle that already has pillage, but still could be worthwhile. For black-red, we're doing aggro pillage Vikings. How about the card is a small creature with aggressive stats, and you can sacrifice a creature to give a Viking haste, and you can exile a creature from your graveyard to give a Viking pillage. That's pretty complex when you take it all together, but it's really interesting design that I'd like to try out. For our deify theme, what if we made a creature that serves as a demigod under other gods? Whenever another of your creatures transforms, it does as well, and then it can give its life to protect them. It would be nice if the front face had an ability to help them transform, but since they all have different transform conditions, that has proven difficult to figure out. For green-white, let's make the first gold Fortify card. Maybe Fortified Land and tap to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Now that's okay, but a bit uninteresting. What if all your Fortified Lands can tap to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature? Suddenly, you have a reason to want to play a lot of Fortify cards, and you don't need as many creatures, as each one you play has the potential to become a huge threat. Now white-black wants to go wide, so the spell could either make a bunch of tokens or a payoff for having a lot of creatures. Let's just go with something simple. Maybe an instant where you can pay X to make X 1/1 tokens. Blue-red is our bounce deck, so we want to make a payoff for bouncing a creature to your hand. Maybe an instant that puts a creature into play, but it costs much less if you've bounced a creature to your hand this turn. This also gives the feeling of transmogrifying your bounced creature into something else, which is a very blue-red thing to do. Now this spell seems overpowered in constructed formats like Modern, but we don't necessarily have to worry about that. For black-green, let's make a card that does something from your graveyard. How about a creature that you can bring back to life by discarding a card? In Limited, being able to turn any card draw into a 4/1 is pretty strong, so let's have this enter tapped and only be activated as a sorcery sorcery to balance it out a bit. Another upside of this card is that if you are playing a graveyard deck, you can use this to discard cards that you want in your graveyard. For our artifact theme, let's make a creature that makes your artifacts cheaper to cast. A bit of conditional mana is not super strong, so maybe this also gets bigger for each artifact you control. That seems like a perfect fit. It goes well with vehicles, fortifications, or equipment. For runes, we really want players to be able to play as many colors as they want. What if this card is a rune that lets you tutor as many basic lands as you have runes? Now, you will need 2 colors of mana already to play this, but it could help you play the off-color runes that would be sitting dead in your hand, or even just help you ramp into a finisher. These are our Signpost Uncommons. Hopefully they're good representatives for their respective archetypes. If not, no worries, they can always change. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which obvious theme choice I missed. Seriously, I don't doubt that there is one. We'll be back next Thursday.